Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Fight the spread and take a stand against coronavirus. Wear a mask in public. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. And get tested. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/COVID-19.
Happy Thursday. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. As you heard, it's brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, Agape Counseling and Training Center, which, by the way, if you are having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact the folks at Agape Counseling and Training Center. Coping with COVID is also brought to you by the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities and Palmetto Media Connections. Well, in the words of Aretha Franklin, sisters are doing it. And we'll talk to 3 today who are giving back, contributing, and making change in our community. Maria Reyes will share why you need to know about her work with the Domestic Workers Alliance. Thank you, beautiful. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Also, Dr. Jennifer Clyburn-Reed, among other things, is restoring the historic Alston House in Columbia. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And recently elected County Councilwoman Gretchen Barron is helping you with multiple streams of income by helping you launch your nonprofit. Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us, too.
Thank you, Trey. Good to be here.
Thank you. We're going to have a great show today, and I'm looking forward to talking to all 3 of these ladies, and you will love the information that they're sharing. That and so much more coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community update. 2 prominent South Carolinians have been diagnosed with COVID. Sheriff Leon Lott tested twice after finding out a family member had the virus. The second test came back positive. The Richland County Sheriff's Department said he began quarantining on December 10th and is doing well. Meanwhile, Congressman Joe Wilson has also tested positive. He says he feels fine, doesn't have any symptoms, and will be quarantining through Christmas. Now, if you plan to travel or host a family gathering, experts say you and your family members should quarantine, isolate, and stay home right about now. Statistics show that the COVID numbers increase after the holidays, and households are some of the main places for transmission. And while the hope is that people will not travel, if they do and want to be safe, sheltering in place as long as you can before heading out lowers your chance of transmission. Finally, DSS has launched a new hotline and online portal to help make it easier to report abuse of children and vulnerable adults. The now centralized intake is accessible 24/7, including holidays, and the online submission will have trained specialists on hand. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID and flu testing COVID testing and flu vaccinations in and around South Carolina. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of times, dates, and locations. Now, that information will also be scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. So check out that information for your most up-to-date list of locations to get a COVID test. You can also visit gogettested.com. There you can find out the closest location for free tests statewide. Make an appointment and get your test results in 48 hours. It's gogettested.com. Also, you can get information about organizing a COVID screening in your community or at your event. And the DHEC Care Line also has more information about the virus and transportation to get a test. Now, speaking of transportation, if you are immobile and unable to get out and about, Richland and Clarendon County paramedics are actually doing in-home COVID testing. Again, that information is at the bottom of the screen and will be scrolling throughout the show. Delta, Sigma Theta, Sorority, and Prisma have collaborated to do a COVID test and screening. That's going to happen this Saturday at Journey Church. You can check the screen for more information about that. Also, the South Carolina Bar Association and SC Legal Services have collaborated to offer a toll-free number and website for rental assistance and mortgage help. Listen, if you need it, please log on or call so that you can get the help that you need. The City of Columbia continues to offer their 6-month payment plan for water bills and payment assistance up to 75%. Again, the number for more information is listed on the screen. If you need some help with virtual learning and virtual working, Rashonda Pratt has dedicated an entire YouTube page with tips and information. And graduating high school seniors also have an opportunity for an incredible scholarship. The South Carolina Association of Counties is taking applications for graduating high school seniors for a $2,500 scholarship every year that you're in school. The information is on the screen right now, so please check it out and pass it along to others who may need that information. Richland School District 1 is hosting a virtual job fair next month. Teachers must have or be eligible for a South Carolina teaching certificate. If you teach math, science, special education, or foreign language, there's a $1,000 signing bonus. Now, you must register by January 15th, and you can contact Joy or Greg for more information. You can see that information on the screen. Now, the district is also hiring bus drivers. There is also a signing bonus, college tuition reimbursement, and more. Again, contact Joya Reed at the Richland School District 1 Employment Office. The Tailor-Made production page is the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there on Facebook and like and follow. Not only can you see all of the shows and watch Coping with COVID every day that it airs, but you can also get all of your COVID-related updates. We are also streaming live on YouTube. Want to say hi to everyone on YouTube, and thank you so much for watching, and ask you if you will please, ma'am, please, sir, hit the subscribe button. We would love for you to do that. Also, go over to Instagram and follow us there on Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Newly elected County Councilwoman Gretchen Barron has hit the ground running since her recent win. And one of the things she's doing is utilizing her expertise to help you with multiple streams of income. Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us. How are you, beautiful? I think you're on mute.
I should know that, right?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm doing well. I'm so glad to be with you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So listen, you feel like I said that you're helping people with multiple streams of income. How is launching a nonprofit utilizing multiple streams of income?
Well, most for-profit entities have nonprofit agencies already working in tandem with what they have already going on. A nonprofit is a great way to give back to the community while at the same time being a viable source of income. Most people think nonprofits, so you cannot profit.
Right.
So simply, they're saying you can't make money. But there are ways where you can actually get funds, pay yourself, pay staff, and still do, as I like to say, doing good in the hood. You'll be able to do good.
Yeah. So what is the difference between really launching a nonprofit and starting a business? Why a nonprofit?
Well, nonprofit is really that warm and fuzzy side of us where we want to go and do in the community. We want to give, whether it's give coats away or help the homeless, things of that nature. It allows you to be able to do humanitarian activities and still give to the community while at the same time providing a source. And so when you have a nonprofit, it's just like a business. In a sense, it's just in a different tax base.
Yeah.
So it is no different. You run a nonprofit just like you would a for-profit company. It's just a little bit different on the paperwork side.
Right. Gretchen Barron joins us, and she is doing a seminar to help folks start a nonprofit. Now, what kind of causes, Gretchen, can you create with your nonprofit? Is it pretty much anything?
For the most part, it is. So when you start to look at whether I should start a nonprofit or not, you usually are going to go to those things where it's aiding and helping and assisting someone. So, I mentioned earlier, homelessness, addressing that need, hunger, food disparities is a big one, whether it's a food pantry, helping teenage mothers, runaway children. There are so many opportunities. One, is near dear to my heart, outside of the homelessness, is, working with children.
Yeah.
In low-income families. So finding that problem and then attaching a solution with it to be able to give back to the community. And in most parts, nonprofits, they don't charge for their services. Thus, they can apply for grant funding to provide an opportunity at no cost.
Yeah, I love that, because I don't know that I think a lot of people, you hear about a nonprofit, but people don't recognize that, as you said, this is an excellent way to have a business, earn some money, and then do, like you said, some good in the hood. Gretchen Barron is joining us. She has a seminar that she is sponsoring that will help you launch your nonprofit. Gretchen, what will take place during this session?
So one of the hardest things for individuals, they want to start a nonprofit, but they don't know how to do it.
Right.
And then they find out about this form called Form 1023. And it is a difficult form to complete on your own. And that is a service that I provide with my consulting business. And as we start to pivot is the word of the season, just really getting back out here and taking this pivot. I want to literally, in this workshop, I am going to walk all participants through completing the 1023 easy form. And with that form, when you complete, because that entire form is done online, when you complete the workshop, all you'll need to do is pay the IRS their application fee or their filing fee. You can hit the submit button and sit back and wait for your paperwork to come back saying you're an approved nonprofit. This is going to cut out a lot of time, a lot of guesswork, and it's going to save you a lot of money. So yeah, you got to register for the workshop. Yeah, you have to pay for the workshop and also pay the IRS. But when you look at the cost savings versus hiring someone, you're probably saving roughly about $1,500.
Well, you're right. I'm going to tell you, and you and I have, full disclosure, talked about this before, but I started looking into someone to help me with this nonprofit application, and they were going to charge me between $600 and $800. I guess that's on the low end, between $600 and $800. And listen, I am a big proponent of hiring someone with, if you can't do it. But that's just over my head. I can see my head exploding. Really just trying to get it done. And this is really a low cost way to, to get it done if people are interested. Now, what do you need to do to launch your nonprofit? And what kind of paperwork do you need to have in place?
So to prepare for the workshop, if you're going to attend the workshop, of course, you need to register. The registration link is there in the chat.
Yeah.
But you need to register, but you already need to have an EIN. That is free of charge. You go to the IRS, put your information in, the name of your organization, and then you'll get that paperwork, download that, save it, print it off. You'll need that. And then you need to register with the Secretary of State's office. When you register with the Secretary of State's office, you want to file as a nonprofit. That cost is $25.
Okay.
And then you need to also make sure once you file, 2 documents that you also need to download will be the certificate of existence, as well as the actual paperwork that is stamped and signed by our Secretary of State. because those documents those are the ones that you need to submit with your application. You'll also need bylaws. We can talk and walk you through in the workshop how to do the bylaws. And then after that, we're literally answering questions. Go ahead and brainstorm your board of directors. Board of directors are not a deal breaker if you don't know everyone you want to be on your board at this point, but it's not a deal breaker. I would say put yourself and maybe one or two people down, because you can amend these documents along the way with the IRS.
Can they be family members?
Absolutely. They can be family members, but I like to challenge my clients to say, when you look at your board of directors should be influencers within your community. They should be people that are directly connected to your vision of your organization. These are movers and shakers, because at the end of the day, if you don't get any donations from any charitable source, your board should be able to give into
Right.
your vision. So
Right.
you want someone to sit on your board who has expertise in knowledge of nonprofits, government, legal, banking. Those are some great people to connect on your board, and then making sure they have the connection to your vision of your organization.
Do they have to live in the same state?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And in these COVID days, we can Zoom and have meetings all day long. I actually sit on a board for an organization that's in North Carolina. And so it doesn't matter where you live, but I would challenge each person as you're thinking about your board, make sure be creative with the people, and also get somebody younger than you to be on the board, because they think at a different level than we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gretchen Barron is joining us. She is launching a how to start a nonprofit class. It's going to be held next year, but the link is in the chat, as you can see, and Gretchen's email address is on there if you want more information. But what a great way to really kind of start the new year with your own nonprofit. So people need to, as you say, Gretchen, go ahead and get their EIN and then file with the Secretary of State, you said?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So again, if you want more information, the link is in the chat. Gretchen's email address is on the screen. What a great way, like I said, to start the beginning of the year. Again, I am considering it myself, and I would love to see you in the class with me and to start your own nonprofit. All right, Gretchen Barron, how to start a nonprofit, an excellent opportunity to go ahead and have her walk you through. As she said, it could cost you up to $1,500 to do it. And I know for myself, like I said, that I, was gonna get someone to do it, and it was between $600 and $800. And listen, if I can spend less to get it done,
yes,
I'm going to spend less to get it done. I mean, just bottom line. Gretchen, so when is swearing in? When is the swearing in?
So we will officially be sworn in on the 31st, just so that we can operate in our capacity as council members on January 1. Ceremonially, we'll be sworn in on January the 5th. And because of COVID, we're having to do some things differently. So we all have our own set time that we'll be swearing in. And I'll be sharing some of that information on my social media page at Team Barron 7. And we would love for you all, I'm still finding out some details, but we do believe it's going to be live streamed so that you all can tune in. But it's an exciting day for Richland County. I hope everybody's ready, because it's going to be some great things that turn up in Richland County in these years to come.
Yeah, because the whole council, or pretty much 90%, 80% of the council members have changed. I mean, it's a whole new face of Richland County Council. With how many? 5 new members? Am I correct?
5 new members, but here's another nugget for you. It's 5 members, but there is 9 of us who have served 4 years or less.
Oh, wow.
So it's a paramount moment in Richland County, and I can't think of a better time than now to be able to set some things in place and to join the council who's already there, and just keep pushing towards the level of excellence and trust that we want here in Richland County.
Right, right, right. Well, I'd love for you to come back, please, and discuss your plans, goals, and initiative for the council. But until then, good luck to you. God bless. And hey, don't forget that if you want more information about Gretchen's class on how to start a nonprofit, again, the information is in the chat. You see the flyer up here, and I'll be posting it on my social media also. Gretchen, thank you again so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. I appreciate you, beautiful.
Thank you, Trey. See you soon.
All right. I'm Tre Tailor. That was Gretchen Barron with Richland County Councilwoman. For more about the nonprofit class, once again, please check out the flyer that is on the screen right now. Coming up next, Maria Reyes with the Domestic Workers Alliance Care Now. We're going to talk to her and about her efforts and about why you should be concerned about domestic workers and what we can do to help. That's coming up next on Coping with COVID.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
You are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor. I want to say hello to John Wright, who is watching. Thank you so much, John, for the kind words. Also, Angela Clyburn, who says, great information, Councilwoman Barron. Thank you so much, Angela, for watching. And also Michelle Jackson McDowell, who said hashtag Team Barron. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. I mean, Gretchen had some great information about how to start a nonprofit. And today we're going to talk to now Maria Reyes. She's the South Carolina State Director of Care in Action, whose mission is to work for a more inclusive South Carolina that empowers, respects, and honors women of color, especially domestic workers and caregivers. Maria, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tre, for having me.
Absolutely. Maria and I worked together on a couple of campaigns last year, and was such a pleasure to get to know you and to work with you. And so I know that you are really passionate about causes. Why is this needed, Maria?
Well, it's kind of personal. I feel like it was full circle, me coming to the National Domestic Workers Alliance, me working in politics, me working for Care in Action, which is new. It is a 501c4, so it's a nonprofit, but we are focused on the advancement
of women of
color in politics, because we believe that. So, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So we believe that women of color should be in all seats, and so it was a pleasure for me to work in my home state of South Carolina and endorse 16 Black women for state level seats and one federal seat, and to work hard and diligently to push them and push our agenda. What people don't realize is that domestic workers, which, you know, is birthed out of slavery. It's those
Yeah.
people who take care of the children, the home, and our elderly loved ones. And
Mhm.
most domestic workers are not getting paid a living wage.
Wow.
COVID-19, when we surveyed domestic workers in other states, Black domestic workers, 90% lost wages. 90% said that COVID had them lose wages, some at over 50% of their wages. So we are, before COVID, domestic workers had so many battles. Someone has to take care of the elderly. Someone
Yeah.
has to take care of the children. Someone has to clean the homes.
Yeah.
And those are the people that get overlooked. Um, most domestic workers don't know that they are guaranteed right. They have guaranteed rights. In the United States, there's 2.5 million domestic workers. That means in our home state of South Carolina, majority of them are Black women.
Yeah.
Majority of them are Black women who look like me. My mother was a domestic worker. She was the smartest woman I knew, but she left South Carolina to go to New York and work in a home. And she worked for that family for over 20 years, raising their children, and then in turn, going in the summers and raising their kids. So if we don't protect them, I remember when my mom got to the age of retirement, there was nothing to retire from because it wasn't the proper channels. You know, when you're paid cash, a lot of people call it paid under the table.
Under the table. Yeah.
You know, and there's not programs like the National Domestic Workers Alliance that educate domestic workers on their rights, that forces them to learn how to make a contract, hold their employers accountable. So for my home state, I was blown away when this opportunity came about to fight for women of color and to uplift their voices, their stories, and to present to the world.
Yeah, that's so good. Michelle, Maria, I was just looking at somebody just made a comment, Maria, because you're right. These are women that are the backbone, not only of our country, but of our families. And you're right. You know, these are the people that don't have the voices, who are often underrepresented. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen says domestic workers have helped to shape this country. You're right, Mitchell, just what I said. And so we know you already mentioned some of the needs and the challenges that domestic workers and caregivers have. And you also mentioned that you guys, your organization endorsed 16 women in this recent election. 14 of them actually, won. So what is it that you need from these people who you guys have endorsed and that now are in positions of power?
Well, this election cycle, after the election, so many things came up. And for me personally, South Carolina not having a curing process for absentee mail-in ballots is a real problem. So that's one of the first things that we will be doing is creating a curing process. We need to expand voting rights in our state.
Right.
We don't need to always be last when it comes to good things. And we need to fight. And I'm so fortunate to have so many women of color. Now, this is the most we've ever had elected in the state of South Carolina. We currently have 13 elected. We didn't lose any seats. And we're going to push and we're going to show up and we're going to make sure that we're not invisible, because we're not. No ballot should ever be just thrown away. Every ballot, every person should have a chance to fix their ballot. Our state is one of the few states. Every state around us has that curing process. South Carolina does not. So that's one of the first things we'll do.
Great. Regina Williams says, yes, curing process. She also says, thank you, Maria, for your group and all you do. Explain the curing process for people who don't know, Maria.
So when you vote in an election absentee by mail, the ballot goes to the county's office, and the ballot is then either accepted or rejected. And we are putting in place a bill to solve that problem.
Okay. All right. Maria Reyes joins us. She is with Care in Action, and they work to make a more inclusive South Carolina that empowers, respects, and honors women of color. You did an amazing mural for those, called the Trust Women Vote mural. It's on Bull Street in the Booker T. Washington Heights community. It features Mary McLeod Bethune, Majeska Simpkins, Septima Clark, Sarah Mae Fleming, all powerful South Carolinians. Tell us why and how you commissioned this beautiful mural.
Oh, that mural was a labor of love. That mural, we always hear about our women, or we don't. Either
right,
like,
right.
A lot of people don't know who these women are. We learn about, in February, Black History Month, and you might get a mention of
Mary McLeod Bethune. Yeah.
You're definitely going to hear about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. But the reality is Sarah Mae Fleming came before Rosa Parks.
Yes.
From South Carolina. And she sat on that bus and she sued all the way to the Supreme Court. People need to know the stories of our women. There would be no voting rights bill without Septima Clark. Septima Clark helped, her freedom schools helped register over 2 million Black, citizens to vote. Mary McLeod Bethune, people don't realize she did all of her work but never had the chance to vote. She died before Black women had the right to vote in this country, but yet she was known on the national stage and the international stage. So it's important. Booker Washington Heights community is a historically Black community. Without the work of Majeska Simpkins, and her family actually had a bank there. Majeska Simpkins is the person who pushed Septima Clark and pushed for Brown versus Board of Education, which most people don't realize happened right here, started in Clarendon County. So this was an homage to my ancestors, to our women who stood in the gap, and we haven't forgotten about them. And we can't forget about them. We can't let the history that our Republican representatives want to teach our children be the only truth, because this is the truth. So I'm really pleased that the muralist, she was amazing. She showed up and I gave her a few words, a few women, and I assisted on my fists, and she showed up. I thank Teresa for allowing us to do that in front of her project, and I hope that mural stays there forever for people to go visit it. It's interactive. We have tic-tac-toe on the side. We have actual plaques on the side with the stories of those women. So please take your daughters, take your sons, go visit the mural, learn. These women are born and raised here in
South Carolina. Yeah.
And Sarah Mae Fleming was a domestic worker. So she was a domestic worker, and she was on her way, to work when she was assaulted on a bus.
Right.
So before Rosa Parks, there was Sarah Mae Fleming. And you need to know the stories.
Yeah, I was so glad to find out when the Comet Bus System, paid tribute to Sarah Mae Fleming earlier this year. Carlton Boy, I echo his sentiments. He says the mural is beautiful, a great way to share our history. Thank you, Carlton. And Regina, thank you. I said Bull Street, I meant Beltline. Yeah, it is on Beltline Boulevard. Thank you, Regina, for correcting me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was amazing. And thank you for taking the initiative, Maria, to commission the work. And as you said, it's something everybody should look at and just take your children, take your family, take your friends, and be a part of. So what can the public do to help the efforts of Care in Action?
Well, if you are a domestic worker or a domestic worker, please have them go to our website, find out what we're doing here in South Carolina, www.careinaction.us. Find out, get involved. We need your voice. We need your story. If you want to tell your story, I would love to interview and tape it so that we can lift up South Carolina domestic workers' story. We don't have a chapter yet for the National Domestic Workers Alliance, but we're going to get one. And by showing up and being present and lifting up your story, we'll get even closer to having a chapter. There is Bill of Rights that we're pushing, a federal Bill of Rights. There's several states that $15 an hour is the minimum wage. There are, paid sick leave. We have a bot. There's so many things that we at the National Domestic Workers Alliance and at Care in Action are doing to further the rights of domestic workers. So if you are a domestic worker, if you leave your home to work in someone else's home, be it cleaning it, be it taking care of their children, be it taking care of their elderly or seniors, please get in touch with us. We are right here off of North Main here in Columbia. We're on Miller Avenue. Would love to hear from you.
All right. You can see Maria's information on the screen. Please contact the folks at Care in Action. As Maria said, if you or someone you know is a caregiver or domestic worker, and become involved in the efforts that these sisters are doing to really make sure these workers have the rights that they deserve. It's always those folks that some call the least of these, the folks that are, kind of on the front line, so to speak, our teachers, for instance, that, are paid less and kind of fall by the wayside. But it takes all of us, because it affects all of us, and all of us need all of these folks. So it is up to us to support the efforts of folks like Maria, who are advocating for domestic workers and caregivers in South Carolina and across the nation. Maria, thank you so much for your work in our community, again, for commissioning this amazing tribute to women in South Carolina, and for all the work you're doing with Care in Action. Once again, please contact Maria if you want more information. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you.
Absolutely. Coming up, another enterprising African American woman's historic home is being restored by a name very familiar to South Carolina and beyond. Coming up next, Dr. Jennifer Clyburn-Reed joins us in 1 minute on Coping with COVID.
People will be able to look 100 years from now. They will know how we got over. This makes it even more important that we shine this light.
Part of it also wasn't the fact that we couldn't have the physical graduation, but I also couldn't celebrate with my family out of town.
For me, I feel like this is a new normal. This is not going away anytime soon, I don't think.
Anything that's happened before can happen again. And the same thing is at play with this virus.
We are no longer in a building, and we've talked about church being, with us, in us.
Have you traveled abroad late in the past 6 months? We were trying to trace it back as early as November.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Crazy George Wallace. Happy holidays, everybody. What do you get the person that has everything? You get the My Book, my new book, Bull Twit. I can't say what I want to say. Bull Twit and whatnot. Just little ramblings of me coming out of my head, things I've been thinking about. Like, we were so poor, people would break into our house, they'd look around, and they would bring us furniture. That's how poor we were. We were so poor, we could only listen to the Pips. We never knew that was a Gladys. But all these are in my book, georgewallace.net. It's a cute, expensive book with quality. Look at the quality on that book. Every page, it's wonderful. You need to get a book, put some laughter in your life. Remember, I'm George Wallace. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. People are buying 5 and 10 at a time. georgewallace.net. See ya! Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas. Fix my tie. Fix my tie.
You can actually check out George Wallace every first Monday right here on Coping with COVID when he joins us for Fun Day Monday. I'm Tre Tailor. I want to thank Evelyn Hay Primus for joining us. Regina Williams says Maria is an unsung hero, and she is. And John Wright says our beautiful Black Queen ancestors. Thank you all so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses, because we've got so much great information on the show, and the information continues right now with Dr. Jennifer Clyburn Clyburn-Reed. She's transitioned from an almost 30-year career in education to politics and public service. The three-time graduate of the University of South Carolina launched her Palmetto Issues LLC, an issues-based political campaign advisory and marketing strategist group focusing on shortages in education, housing, and state infrastructure. One of her most recent endeavors is the restoration of the historic home of Carolina Alston, who was one of only 25 African American business women owners in Columbia. Jen, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So listen, how did you find out about the Alston home?
Well, if you traveled down Gervais Street, you have passed by this house thousands of times, and you probably never noticed it. But there's a store next door, If It's Paper, that we're all familiar with.
Yes.
And I was just visiting the store. I went to get some invitations and things, and I'm like, that house has been sitting there. What's going on with it? So I saw the building next door was for sale as well, and I contacted the bank and found out that they're both in foreclosure, and there were a few people interested, but what they wanted to do was to make that house a parking lot. So they wanted
to tear it down.
No, they wanted to move it because if the home is on the historic registry, it was put there in 1979. So you cannot tear down a house that is on the historic registry or building, but you can relocate it. So looking at that house being built in 1872, I walked around, I saw its fragility, and I felt that if the house were moved, a piece of history would definitely be lost.
Yeah.
And I also felt that if the house were moved, that it wouldn't make it to its next location.
Right.
And when I looked at the historical marker and I read it, and I said, wait a minute, this house was owned by a Black woman business owner.
Wow.
Then I started asking some questions, looking up some things, and found out that this house may have been owned by the first African American woman business owner in the city of Columbia, South Carolina.
That's amazing.
So I said it has to be mine.
Yeah, listen,
because we have to rescue it.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a Jesus girl, so I got to bring Jesus into everything. But how, because people can call it luck or coincidence, but how spiritual a moment is it just to have? Because you probably have been to If It's Paper a million times.
A million times, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So, at that moment when it was in foreclosure, when it was being sold, when maybe some people were, like you said, considering purchasing it and moving it, at that moment, the Holy Spirit brought it to your mind. Let me find out about this house that you had seen, like you said, a million times. How many times did we go up and down Gervais Street?
Absolutely. 30,000 cars go by here every single day.
Yeah.
And I was one of them.
Yeah.
So
Carolina Alston, I said was one of only 25 African American business owners in Columbia in the 19th century, right? I think it was the 18th or 19th century, was it?
The house was built in 1872. And she ran her business till around 1906.
Yeah, and you say she was probably one of, and she had a dry goods store, I think, right?
It was a dry goods store. That is correct.
Yeah.
And right now, if you walk into I call it the basement area, but it just had to be a little storage area underneath there. I visited on a 100, and you can't see it from this view, but when you walk around the back, if you go into that area on 100-degree day, you feel like you're in air conditioning.
Really? Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just have to find out more about this. And here you see that picture there showed that it's an addition that was built on the back. So that is a third chimney. So there are 3 chimneys on this home.
Wow.
But this particular one, as you can see, it's separating from the home.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably cannot be rescued, but it's okay because it wasn't a part of the original structure.
Right.
But the two chimneys, the two fireplaces within the home, they're two-sided and they will be saved.
Oh my goodness. How amazing is that? So I know you want, so you purchased the home, right? You already purchased the home and you want to restore it, and you had to go to the city to kind of, I guess, get permission.
Absolutely. And it's okay. And I really, I am appreciative of the development committee that they have to make sure that homes are saved and restored to the best of their abilities. And it's valuable, and especially for us as African Americans, I think this is just an addition to our lives that will be very well received.
I think so too, Jennifer. I mean, we've got to, I mean, this is just a mind-blowing, thing. I mean, we've got a lot of, we've got the Majestica Simpkins home. I mean, we've got a lot of places, but this is just another Black girl magic thing, if I can say that, and this has been such a transformative time for Black women to me.
You're exactly right. And that entrepreneurship, the value of that in the spirit of Black women. We have our historical perspective in the education field, in just the civil rights field. But this field is entrepreneurship.
It is.
And it fills a gap where we just don't have as much of that as we do in the other areas.
Yeah, you're right. Because as an entrepreneur, with it takes a lot to figure out that you want to do something, branch out from your traditional 9 to 5, and then do everything it takes to really get a business up and going. And good God Almighty, if it's that way in 2020, imagine what it was in the 1800s.
Absolutely. And as a Black woman in those times.
As a Black woman. Yeah.
And her customers were both white and Black.
And Black. I read that. Yeah. John Wright says, Madam Queen Austin is smiling down from heaven right now. You're right, John. I'm about to cry right now.
Oh, gosh. Thanks, John.
Right. Yes. Angela says she's so proud of her sister Jennifer Clyburn-Reed taking part in such a historic project. And Carlton Boyd says that's an impressive project. It is. That is just.
And
amazing.
Angela just doesn't know how much work she's going to have to do.
Okay, ready, Angela, and me, and Congressman Clyburn,
and Tre Tailor.
Well, girl, I'm down. I'm down. I really am. Daniel Lake says, congratulations on your efforts to preserve history and for telling ancestral stories. Bravo. And these are the kind of stories, just like Maria was saying in the last segment, these are the things that not only we as women need to hear, but our children need to hear. Because with all of the negative stuff that we hear in the media about Black and brown people, we need to see that we can be more than, and there's nothing wrong with being an athlete, and there's nothing wrong with being a performer, but you can branch out and be anything you want to be, and it takes hard work.
Spaces. Yes.
You can fill all spaces. Dr. Jennifer Clyburn-Reed joins us. She's talking about her project to restore the Carolyn Alston home. Was one of the only 25 African American business owners in Columbia, and she was just sharing with us probably the first African American woman to own a business in Columbia, South Carolina. So what happens now, Jennifer?
Right now, we start to raise funds to restore the home in keeping it safe, and keeping critters out of it, of course. And we're taking suggestions really on what the home should be.
Right. And I was going to ask you that. Yeah. What do you plan to do with it once you get it up and running and restore it?
And I really don't want to have any hardcore plans of my own. I want the input of the community. I want the input of Black women. when I walk into it, I feel something.
Yes. Oh my
But I
gosh.
just want to
I
make
have
sure,
chills.
I know, but I just want to make sure we do the right thing. I
Yeah.
want it to be a homage to her,
Yeah.
to Miss Austin. I don't want her to be upset. I don't,
The wrath of a Black woman, girl.
yes, I just feel that the input of all of us should be in on this decision. So I'm taking suggestions, and I encourage everyone to come by, to look at it, to walk around it, to see how you feel about it, and just we'll go from there.
Right. So how should people, and do you want people to now, one, give their suggestions about what they would like it to be?
Oh, absolutely. I think I shared my email address for the project, and it'll be 49 Magnolia Blossom at gmail.com. Please email me and, let me know what you feel. And then we can move on from there.
Great. Carlton wants to know, are you accepting donations for the project?
Absolutely. I just had the meeting last week. Trey, you got right on me, like the day before the meeting, I think.
Yes.
So once we got the okay, we were approved by the city planning. So we're excited about moving to the next level. And this email address, I think we should create a website for her.
Yeah.
So I think the building would have her own website, and then we can accept donations from that website. But for right now, 49 Magnolia Blossom at gmail.com, and I'll be glad to talk to you.
Mitchell Peace Joy Jennifer says, is Miss Austin's family still alive? Do you know?
I don't know. I do talk. I know you know Bobby Donaldson, Dr. Donaldson from USC.
Who knows everything? Yeah.
Exactly. So anything historical, you ask
right.
Dr. Donaldson. So I did call Dr. Donaldson, and he is looking into some things for me. And we found several business owners who have owned the home. So that's one of the things that he's looking up for us. So.
Right. Thank you, Mitchell. Because
Thank you for that question.
Yes,
because I had the same one. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, because I know during my research she sold it to a lot of different people, but one of them was an African American grocer.
Mm-hmm.
The Keats, I think its name was Keat, LM Keat.
That is exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's really interesting that a grocer, she had a dry goods store, then a grocer after that. But we're right in the midst of a food desert.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yes.
Now, while it cannot be a grocery store in its current state, in its current location, that spirit can definitely move through us to ensure that we get grocery stores in these 4 different areas that have been identified lately as being food deserts. And that would also honor her as an entrepreneur.
So couldn't it be something like, I don't know, because at one point they were trying to make, what's the store that used to be over there by Drew Wellness across from the Housing Authority? Weren't they trying to make that like an open air market kind of place at one point? Could it be something like that? Do you know
where
what I'm
the
talking about?
Save-A-Lot was?
Yeah, Save-A-Lot.
Over there. Well, it's just the traffic flow.
Right. Okay.
It's prohibitive of over here. So that would not be conducive.
Okay.
But in that Save-A-Lot location that is now empty, we can still have that spirit there.
Yeah. Central Thompson says it's also a good community project for mentoring program for young people and perhaps single moms, interns seeking help to start a business. Hey, thank you, Central. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So John Wright says, how do you donate? Do you go to your email address? Do you want money now?
Well,
people want to get money, girl. People want to get money today.
What is going on? I am excited about that, and I do appreciate it. But what I will ask all of you to do is to please email me, 49 Magnolia Blossom at gmail.com. I want to make sure that you have the correct link, and we can still communicate.
All right. Cedric Blaine Spain, thank you so much for joining us. He says, congratulations, Dr. Clyburn-Reed. It's great to learn of the preservation of historical Black-owned homes, buildings, etc. Much blessings and success to you, Dr. Reed, and to me and all the women of Black Girl Magic. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for all the great work you're doing in the Myrtle Beach area. Alex Wright says, what's the square footage of the home, Jennifer? Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Cedric.
1,100. It's
1,100
a very small home.
Yeah.
And there are 4 rooms separated by fireplaces. So you have 2 rooms on one side separated by a 2-sided fireplace. Go across the hall. 2 more rooms separated by a fireplace.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a very simple a Greek revival home.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. John Wright, Jennifer says, Dr. Clyburn-Reed, we're going to rally behind you on this project.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. And all hands on deck. It will take all hands on deck.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
This is the home, the Carolina Alston home that Jennifer Clyburn-Reed has purchased and will restore. And she is taking suggestions as to what you think a great idea would be for the home. And she's going to set up a website, as she says, so she can take some donations. And that would be great. That will be great. So, Jen, I've got about 5 minutes and I've got 3 minutes of stuff to do. So for 2 minutes, I can ask you what I really want to ask you.
Okay.
So listen, the 4 questions I want to ask, I want to see which one I want to ask them, because of course, you were in education, and I know, and some people may not know, that you really became interested, not that you weren't interested in politics before, but you got the bug when you ran Rosalind's campaign for Secretary of State. I think she was running for Treasurer. Yeah. So what happened during that time? What gave you that bug? Because listen, it's not like you're a stranger to politics.
Well, if you think about teachers' kids, preachers' kids, politicians' kids, they're all in the same boat. You run far away from it.
Yeah.
And I was really an educator at heart. I did major in political science in undergrad, thinking that, going into politics is what I should do.
Yeah.
But then you may remember Henley Holmes.
Yes.
Okay. The sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, we started a tutorial center down in Henley Holmes when I was a sophomore in college. Okay. And during that time, one of the students there, I was helping him with his times tables, and he said, you know what? I know you told us you wanted to be a lawyer, but I really think you should be a teacher.
Wow.
And he was in 3rd grade.
Oh my goodness.
Said, why? And he said, I didn't know any of my times tables until you came. And I failed all my tests. You remember those time tests that they do together?
Yes.
He failed every one of them. And he said, I didn't pass until you taught me how to do
Jan.
this.
Wow.
And lo and behold, I graduated with my political science degree, but I went right back into grad school and went into teaching.
Yeah.
So I stayed there for 25 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And I love it. I love it. But you asked me the question of how I got into politics. And my line sister, my sorority sister, Rosalind Glenn, decided she wanted to run for state treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know that. And we're like, okay, well, we'll get this done. I know a little bit about politics.
Yeah.
So let's just do it. So we put a team together. She got over 700,000 votes.
She did very well. Yeah.
So we did.
So you got the bug.
I know. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun.
I remember having this conversation.
Yes.
I was like, and you said, I think I really like it.
I like it. Yeah. So
wow.
The biggest part of it is helping people.
Yeah.
So it's about being a servant. It's not about.
You were doing that in education. It's really kind of the same thing, Jen.
Exactly.
So you have very lofty goals.
Here we go.
You want to be the next Clyburn, the next Congressman Clyburn-Reed.
Well, it all depends on how things land.
Right.
We'll see. Being a public servant is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's who I am. So if I can serve in the best way possible by being a member of Congress, then sure, that's what I'll pursue. And if I can do it as being a philanthropist, sure, that's what I'll do. But my options are open. Thank you.
Mitchell Peace Joy Jennifer stepping out on faith. John Wright says South Carolina needs a leader like you, Dr. Clyburn-Reed.
Oh.
Well, I spoke to your dad, as you know, you were in the room when I interviewed him.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to him, I said, I hear a lot of people, really want that seat. He said, yes, among one of them is my daughter that's right here. And I said, well, aren't because again, a lot of people are thinking, Joe Biden will, tap him for something. He said he basically said, no, he's going to be Congressman Clyburn. So
yeah, he's got a lot of unfinished projects that he wants to get done.
Yeah.
And now that we do have a president who is working on our side, I do believe we will get a lot accomplished.
Right.
I really do.
Well, like you said, you have a lot of options. You can wait to be the next Congresswoman Clyburn, or you can still, you've got a lot of projects going on. One of which is this home. So, as John said, and many people have said, we're behind you 300%. It's such an amazing project. It is, like I said, talking about it, looking at the home, sends chills literally up and down my spine. So good luck to you, girl. Congratulations. And God bless. Jennifer Clyburn-Reed, she is restoring the home of the first African American businesswoman in Columbia, South Carolina, the Carolina Austin home. There is her her email address, 49magnoliablossom@gmail.com. If you want more information about it, or if you want to suggest a purpose for the home, please email her. Jen, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it. Like I said, you can call on me. Let me know whatever you need, sweetie.
Will do. Thanks so much, Trey.
All right. You're welcome. That's Jennifer Clyburn-Reed. Don't forget to email her. You see the email address right there, 49 Magnolia Blossom. You see my eyes are going around and around because I'm trying to get that up for you. 49 Magnolia Blossom at gmail.com. Listen, tomorrow on Coping with COVID, we are going to talk to Erica Lakin. It's Faith Friday on Coping with COVID. And Erica Lakin is going to join us for encouragement and inspiration and motivation. Listen, if you have a story that could help someone cope with COVID, a story or an initiative, we would love to feature you. Please go to the Tailor Made production page and inbox me, and let's talk about. Now, if you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, I'd love for you to be a proud sponsor as we go into the new year. Please email copingwith@tretailor@gmail.com. And we would love to talk to you about being a proud sponsor, just like SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, the City of Columbia, Office of Business Opportunities, also Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections. Alex Wright says, thank you, Tre Tailor and Jennifer Reed, for this story. Never knew this. I know. I heard about it too, Alex. I thought it was amazing. And Cedric Blaine Span says, we're looking to support our Black sisters, Black Girl Magic, this coming gubernatorial, constitutional, and other elections going forward. Black women, same democracy. Come on to the forefront of South Carolina. You're absolutely right, Alex. Thank you so much. Listen, as always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today is December 17th. And Jesus says, come to me with your gaping emptiness, knowing that in me, you are complete. Man, that's good. As you rest quietly in my presence, my light within you grows brighter and brighter. Facing the emptiness inside you is simply a prelude with being filled with my fullness. Therefore, rejoice on those days when you've got to drag yourself out of bed, feeling sluggish and inadequate. Tell yourself that this is the perfect day to depend on Jesus in childlike trust. If you persevere in this dependence as you go through the day, you'll discover at bedtime that joy and peace have become your companions. You may not realize at what point they join you along the journey, but you will feel the beneficial effects of his presence. The perfect end to such a day is a doxology of gratitude. I am he, God says, from whom all, good God Almighty, blessings flow. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Please be careful. Please stay safe. And please wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you guys.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre